Okay, I don't want to beat a dead horse with a broken record here, but I'm going to talk about Fabian Lysell because he's been my favorite player to talk about the last 2 seasons here. I talked about him 3 seasons ago with Fieldhoek, but I've watched this guy in a lot of different hockey. I've watched him in preseason games. I've seen him in the AHL now. I've seen him in the World Juniors, and he is driving whatever line he is on every time he's on the ice. Like, he is exciting to watch. He will be the quarterback of this power play. They'll have him in the D spot, right at the top of the blue line, and probably a top 3 passer in this tournament. And he's going to be exciting to watch for me. I love this player, and Boston's lucky to have him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they sure are. The thing about Lysell is that he's sort of a triple threat. He's one of those players that can do it all. He can shoot, he can pass, but he's also so effective on the rush and on gaining the zone, breaking out through the neutral zone. He's one of those players who controls the puck really well, and we saw that in the most recent tournament, which I don't think we've mentioned yet, but we're having 2 tournaments in the span of 6 months. Isn't this cool, guys?
Yeah, exactly. Last tournament was in August. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, so we saw a lot out of Lysell in the last tournament. But he's just such a dynamic weapon up front for this team. And yeah, Boston is lucky to have him. I remember when the draft was happening and we were talking about this player as maybe a top 10 talent in the draft. Yeah. And he slipped out of the top 10. Boston grabbed him up, nom, give me some great players. And that's what they did. They snagged him. He's going to be great, and he's going to be one of the best players on this Swedish team. So definitely looking forward to watching him.
A scary-looking Swedish team.
Yeah.
Yes, very. And going back to, the projected top picks in the upcoming draft, Sweden's got one of those as well.
They do. Are you sending this to me? Do you know who I was going to pick on Team Sweden?
I hope I did.
I mean, maybe you did. I don't know, because the player that I want to talk about is 2005 born defenseman who is eligible for this year's draft and might be the highest ranked defenseman in the draft, depending on which rankings you're looking at, and that's Axel Sandin Pellikka.
I thought you were going to talk about Leo Carlsson.
I could have. But I wanted to talk about a defenseman on this team. Axel Sandin Pellikka, however you want to pronounce it. I'm sure someone will correct me in the YouTube comments. But like I mentioned, he's eligible for this draft this year, and he might be the highest ranked defenseman depending on who you're talking to. I think he's either ranked 1 or 3, between 1 and 3 in terms of the highest ranked defenseman in the tournament and in the upcoming draft. And it feels like he's been climbing the rankings all year. He's one of those players who has continued to impress at the level he's playing at. Currently, through 14 games in the SHL, he just has 5 points as a defenseman, but the fact that he's playing those games as a 2005 born player is impressive in and of itself. He had 26 points through 20 games in the J20 previous to that. And like I said, guys, this is a player who continues to rise up the charts in the upcoming draft rankings. And it seems like a lot of analytics accounts that I follow on Instagram are really high on the player. So there's something about this player that is attracting some positive attention, and I want to know what that is. So he's going to be a player that I'm really looking forward to watching at this tournament on Team Sweden. It'll just depend on how many minutes he gets on the back end.
Yeah, this is going to be my first taste of him really in this tournament. I've heard comparisons of an Adam Boqvist so far, mostly probably because of his size and being a defenseman playing in the SHL at a young age. So obviously, that spikes my interest, and I'm definitely going to be watching him. But yeah, I don't know a ton about him, so
I don't either. But good call, because I think a lot of the focus when thinking about this group, talking about this group, is on the forward group, right?
Right.
And so that's a really good pick, and the Boqvist comparison is a great one. So that means that he can certainly skate and move the puck up ice and create offense, and so that's a good one for sure.
Yep.
All right, I've got another kind of off the board pick for a player to watch for Team Sweden. And this is another franchise that is heading into a rebuild. They haven't had a very good season. Rookie GM, and that's Mike Greer and the San Jose Sharks. So I'm going to talk about Philip Bystedt, 27th overall pick in this past draft, 6'3", 187. He's a big center, and at the time that he was drafted, literally the analysts on TV were like, who is this guy? Like, this is kind of an off-the-board pick. They picked him early. He's got 11 points in 26 games in the SHL, so not great production, but from everything I've seen, by the looks of it, just a very defensively responsible center. And the Sharks need more prospects to grow and flourish, and so Bystedt is going to be a guy for me. But I got to tell you, boys, it was hard not to go with Rosen or Ostlund, the two Buffalo picks for Sweden, because I'm pretty sure I talked about Rosen last year as a player to watch for Sweden. So I thought I'd go off the board a little bit and talk about the big man in the middle, Philip Bystedt. So we'll see how he does.
Yeah, I didn't pick either of those guys that you mentioned because I left them up to you for Buffalo. But yeah, another interesting pick, another slightly off the board one, but we saw how much Sweden relied on Soderblom last year. That's the big muck on Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Well, they relied on him a lot. They had him in front, the net front presence. He scored that beautiful between the leg goal last year. So that's another, Philip Bystedt could be the guy to fill in there. Surprisingly, not the biggest player on Sweden on forward. There's a 6'6", 216-pounder named Milton Oskarsson. But Philip Bystedt, big boy himself. Like, this is probably the biggest team in the league, in the tournament, rather. As I look at it, there's a 6'4", 6'3", 6'6", 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
Big team.
Yeah, true. Definitely a good pick, Harp. Not who I was expecting you to pick, given the two Sabres prospects on the team. But yeah, I mean, he'll be definitely a guy to watch. Again, depending on ice time. And if you're a Sharks fan, you're hoping you see a glimpse of something special. Because again, if you're a fan of the Sharks, like we have some friends who are, I'm thinking of Zach Shankar, Makai Calder.
Yeah.
You're hoping for some excitement this year because aside from, a couple guys like Timo Meier, Thomas Hertl putting the puck in the net this year, you don't really have much to be excited for this season except for tanking, really, except for getting a good pick in this upcoming draft.
And waiting for Eklund and Bordeleau to come.
Exactly. Sure. But this season in the NHL has not been overly exciting, so you hope that a guy like Bystedt gets a lot of minutes and is able to do something at the tournament. So good pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And interesting enough, San Jose actually traded down and drafted him in that first round. They made that deal with Arizona so that the Coyotes could move up and take Connor Geekie. So interesting little tidbit there. But